Hello guys, today we will be talking about what if Naruto went back in time part 3. If you enjoy this video please like and subscribe. Now let begin. XXX Naruto XXX. So, how are you doing Naruto-kun? The old man's words echoed throughout the room. The restaurant was small and quiet. The waiters bustled from place to place, setting tables and preparing for the day. It was spacious, square-shaped and centered facing inwards towards a large central garden. The dawn sun shined down upon the hardwood bamboo floor, and the rich smells of tea filled the air. Naruto smiled a small smile at him. Good. I heard you showed a rather promising amount of talent yesterday. That's good to hear. Naruto looked at the old man. This was strange. This wasn't supposed to happen. Not for another year, the Anbu weren't supposed to be watching him for another 2. He'd been here for less than a day and already he'd changed things. And what was the old man playing at with this? Why meet with him at all? Why not just watch and wait? Thank you. Yes, the old man was quiet for a moment. He was watching him, studying him, and Naruto didn't know how to feel about it. Those deep pools of brown staring into his own sky blue. How was he supposed to act? Like a child? How do you like the orphanage, Naruto-kun? He was quiet. This was a chance. It took a year for him to get out of the orphanage after the old man met him. Now, this was a chance he couldn't let up. He'd take it. I don't like it. The kids are mean, and no one wants to play with me. The matron is a cantankerous old hag. He watched the old man raise an eyebrow in amusement. And when I'm hungry, and tell her she says I'm lying and greedy. But I'm not. I really am hungry. He was quiet for a moment and looked down into the cup of rich dark tea. The old man took a sip of his, sighed in contentment and smiled at him. Continue please. The kids are mean. They bully me all the time. And when I tell the matron she doesn't do anything about it, but when I hit them back I get punished. I get punished all the time, even for things I didn't do. He pouted. My room's small and cold too. He frowned as he heard his own voice. So childish, those problems were so childish. Yet, looking up at old man he could see his soft brown eyes hardening. You don't like it there. Not at all. How would you feel with your own apartment? It might be lonely, but I'll have people check in on you every week to cook your meals and help you out. My own apartment, like, just for me. The old man smiled. His wrinkled face warping into a wide-toothed smile. Yes, as well as a small stipend for you to spend on meals or clothes, toys, ninja tools. Whatever it is you fancy. That sounds nice. Nice, yeah. Naruto finished the last of his tea and stood up. Nice. He looked at the clock. It was almost 8 now. The academy would be starting soon. The academy's about to start. Naruto got up. He smiled at the elderly Kage, bright white teeth beaming in pride, and the old man responded in kind. As they left the tea place, the old man held out his hand. Naruto stared at it for a moment, realized what the old man wanted, and placed a hand in his. His hand was engulfed by the rough calloused palms of the old man. Then they started to walk, and his mind went elsewhere. XXX Saratobi's. The elderly Kage looked down at his young ward as they walked. It was obvious that the boy before him was a genius, prodigy much like the hegemony he descended from. The blonde child was brilliant. He spoke with the clear intensity of any adult, and beneath those bright blue eyes was obvious intelligence. Calculating intelligence. The innocent child was far more aware of the world than he made himself appear to be. Looked around. He frowned when he saw the disapproving glances, the fear, the hatred in the eyes of his people as they watched him and Naruto walk along. He looked at the boy and realized Naruto couldn't care less. The boy was occupied in his own thoughts. He was either ignorant of the looks or just didn't care. It was likely the latter more than the former. He was very much like his father though. That blonde hair, those blue eyes, and now that genius intelligence. No doubt it wouldn't take too long for people to start putting the pieces together. He stopped for a moment when he realized what he had just said. People would soon start asking exactly who Uzumaki Naruto's parents was. It likely wouldn't take too long for them figure it out as well. He cursed beneath his breath. He'd have to take actions, hide things, collude things, and that in itself would give answers to people smart enough to see them. Jason. He looked down at the small blonde holding his hand. Apparently whatever had had the boy occupied no longer did so. He smiled down at the child, masking his own annoyance and worry. Yes, Naruto-kun, is something wrong? Attentive child. No, not at all Naruto-kun, I was simply absorbed in my own thoughts. Okay. The boy beamed back up at him. The Kage looked back around one more time. He frowned. Genius children, he dealt with genius children nearly all his life. His students, the Sannin, all of them had been geniuses. His son, Minato, Kakashi. Orochimaru, so many brilliant minds, such potential, wasted, Konoha bred geniuses, though it didn't seem to be able to keep them for long. A genius child, too much like his father. A village filled with ignorant people filled with fear and hatred. A child who without a doubt already knew of his village's animosity towards him. He frowned. Another failure waiting to happen. They walked on in silence. After a few moments the wide gates of the academy appeared. Jai-san, we're here. It would seem so, Naruto-kun. XXX Sasuke's Naruto was strange, Sasuke decided. But in a good way. He's obviously smart, brilliant really. Like Nai-san, a genius amongst a crowd of normal people. But unlike Nai-san, Naruto wasn't so drear, so depressed. Yesterday was just a glimpse into Uzumaki Naruto. Today he got to see more. Naruto was fast. He could run for seemingly forever. 30 laps around the academy was nothing to him, while the rest of the kids were passing out on the ground, gasping for breath. Naruto was quick. He could run through the academy training course in less than a minute and a half, while it took him 5. Naruto was smart. He could follow the lesson without really paying attention to it at all. Naruto was strange, he was smart, he was fast, and a genius. He had no reason to pick Sasuke as his friend, but deep down, Sasuke was happy Naruto did. So, all I'm saying is Mizuki-sensei's a dick. Sasuke coughed up his rice. What? He's a dick? Naruto proclaimed. His face was serious, and his brows were furrowed. It was obvious to Sasuke that this was a serious issue for his new lunch buddy. Idly he wondered why his mother seemingly wanted him to associate with he wasn't an idiot, but he was somewhat lewd. What makes you say that during Taijutsu practice he paired all the clan kids against non-clan kids? Did he? Yes, Naruto raised an appraising eyebrow at him. He did. Me and you are one example, right? Sasuke nodded as he attempted to follow along. The fight between me and you was more or less a tie. That's because you're trained and likely have been training since you could walk in Taijutsu, right? He had in fact been doing Taijutsu practice as far back as he could remember. And yet, he cast one more look at Naruto. How much Taijutsu practice have you had? How much Taijutsu practice have you had? The boy looked down, took a rice ball from Sasuke's bento, and took a bite. Sasuke raised an eyebrow and Naruto raised one back. He forgot about it, he had a feeling trying to deal with it would be pointless. Naruto smiled at his resignation. None. I've been in fights before though. Sasuke nodded and took another bite of rice. Deductive. Placing someone who doesn't have any idea how to fight against someone who's been training in it since they can wall learning curve a little too high. Naruto stopped for a moment to think. He cast a glance towards the wooded area of the academy training grounds. It was so fast Sasuke almost missed it. It make it look like the clan kids with training are naturally better than non-clan kids without. It's unfair. The first year of the academy is nothing but evaluations. It's to teach us the basics and see how well we perform. He's messing with those results. That's. Sasuke was quiet, a horrified look on his face. That's unfair. See. Naruto smiled. Sasuke groaned, looked one more time at Naruto and sighed. I'm not sure if I want to be involved in anything you have planned. Don't worry. I'm sure whatever I come up with won't be too bad. But I don't want to be involved at all. Did you say something? He would have responded, but the lunch bell rung, and they had to return to class. XXX Naruto's. They were still following him, his new watchers and guards. He let out a sigh of annoyance, but still he remained on his path. Naruto cast his blue eyes down to the small silver key in his hand. He smiled though, and gripped it firmer. The building appeared before him as he walked. It was just like he remembered it before it was demolished in Pain's attack. 3 stories high and circular in shape. From here he could see the faded pink coat of paint that had once been red. He could see the rich red tiles too, faded as well and bleached from the sun. He couldn't contain his excitement as he let out a quick yelp and ran for the apartment building. He got to the entrance, passed through the main office building, and gave a casual wave to the landlord. He was about to go past him when he remembered he wasn't supposed to know where his apartment was. He stopped, turned to the man and smiled. He walked up to the counter and stood on his toes to peer over it. The landlord looked down, his glasses sliding off his face and an inquisitive look appearing on his face. Hi, yes, little boy? Naruto huffed in annoyance. He hadn't been called a boy in years, but then again, he was a child I'm looking for. He stopped, reached into his pocket, and pulled out the small square of paper the Anbu in the giraffe mask had given to him on his way to the orphanage. Apartment 29C. The landlord gave him a once-over, yawned, and grabbed a bottle of water from behind his desk. He took a deep gulp, wiped his mouth and signed in content. The apartment building has 3 stories. The ground level is A, the second level is B, and the top level is C. 29C is on the top level. To the furthest right. Thanks. He grabbed the sheet of paper off of the landlord's desk and headed for his room. It wasn't the same apartment. In fact, this one was a little better. The paint seemed new, the floor was freshly polished, and all the furniture seemed new, rather than second-hand. And best of all, it seemed they'd slightly modified it to fit a child's stature. There were stools of varying heights sitting neatly against the kitchen wall. The doorknobs seemed smaller, easier to grip with smaller hands. He smiled and then jumped a bit in excitement. In the center of the apartment was a decent-sized table, not huge but not small either. On top of it was a note. He grabbed it and quickly scanned through it. "Oh Naruto-kun, this apartment at yours, Naruto-kun, I hope you like it. In the mornings and evenings bento boxes with healthy meals will be ready for you. A bento box for lunch will also be ready for you in the morning. A monthly stipend, a small amount of money, will be provided for you every month. Use this to buy clothing, ninja tools, small meals on the go, or even toys if you wish. It's yours to spend as you deem fit, though I do warn, if it seems like you're spending it unwisely it will be lessened and you'll be forced to take some lessons on money management. The apartment has new furniture and the walls are freshly painted. Take any problems you have to the building's landlord as soon as possible. He will deal with them, don't put it off for too long, or a small issue might turn into a big issue. In the closet hall is a small set of ninja supplies to start you off at the academy. The dresser in your bedroom has your clothing from the orphanage. The bathroom has soap and a new toothbrush for you. Remember, hygiene is important, Naruto-kun. I hope this serves you well, Naruto-kun. Saratobi here is in Sandame Hokage. Naruto put the letter down and went to his room. A small twin-sized bed was sat in the corner. He collapsed face first into it with a sigh. The past 2 days had been tiring. The academy was boring, long and arduous. Most of the children in his class were just that, children, unbearable little monsters who grated on his nerves. Aruka-sensei was being a dick because he didn't know better, and Mizuki was being a worse one because, well, he was Mizuki. Sasuke was amicable so far. But he didn't know how long that would last, Naruto sighed. So many options. So many choices. He had to talk with Kurama. He closed his eyes, slowed his breathing, and fell into the cage dwelling that his one friend lived in. The Kyuubi was there, his gargantuan form laying down behind his massive cage. His large red eyes stared down. You're back. I am. Why I'm lonely, of course. So, how goes changing the future? I've got an apartment now, the old man's taken interest in me, and Sasuke now eats lunch with me, that's a thing. So, Kurama laughed. His voice filling his mind space and reverberating off the walls. Then he was quiet and serious. Does the village bother you? No. I'm used to it. Besides, I have you and I know I'll be able to make friends in the future, so that desperation I felt, that need to belong, to be acknowledged. It's not there. Good. Naruto smiled and the Kyuubi did also in response. They settled down into silence, enjoying each other's company. All the while, the world around Uzumaki Naruto moved. It inched forward 1 second